Kamala Harris pick. And I did a quick hit, kind of, sort of yesterday on the Anton Daniels channel. And that I was just basically breaking down who he was, where he comes from, what his background is, and why people were electing him in 2018 and then ultimately in 2022 in Minnesota. Has anybody ever been to Minneapolis? Has anybody been to St. Paul, Minneapolis? I have. I had the pleasure of going there in the summertime, so I didn't have to suffer in the wintertime. And what I realized when I was I realized two things when I went to Minneapolis. All right, I realized two things. Two things that I noticed when I was in Minneapolis. First, because I stayed downtown, and it was a cool place. You know, I went to a couple of low-key spots. It was dope or whatever. But it was a cool place, right? What I realized in Minneapolis is that it didn't take me walking outside to get to the conference center where my daughter was having her taekwondo tournament, because all of the downtown buildings are connected. They all interconnected. And they're interconnected in order to help you avoid the weather, the winter weather. Even though I was there in the summer, it helps you avoid the winter weather that gets extremely bad in Minneapolis. And then they call it the Twin Cities as far as St. Paul and Minneapolis. I don't know if I got any Midwesterners that understand what Minnesota is, or been in Minnesota, or spent some time in Minnesota, or lived in Minnesota, or worked in Minnesota. But that's the first thing that I noticed. The second thing that I noticed is that Somalians are everywhere. Somalians have largely taken over. And this is just what I've seen and what my experience is. I think I went to, what was it called? Mall of America. I was downtown. I went to some low-key spots. And it's chocolate faces everywhere. It's chocolate faces everywhere. The migrant crisis already had taken place in Minneapolis way before we started catching wind of it in Chicago, Denver, and all of these other places. Those are the two things that I noticed. So he is the governor, was elected in 2018, 2022, and we're going to find out more about it. One thing that really was off-putting about this governor, even though they say that he had the background credentials and all of this stuff, and we're going to go through his little speech that he just had yesterday. I want to go through his little campaign rally and his little speech. We're going to break that down. But one thing that I realize is that he's absolutely for gender affirmation. Incredibly liberal. Despite his background, despite the fact that he was a military man and he's been married for a long time, he's for gender affirmation. He was a coach, and they don't want to add in a part about him being a coach that he allegedly was putting tampons in a boy's bathroom because he wanted people and young boys to be able to feel comfortable with whatever it is that they identified as they were in school. So when we talk about liberalism and these liberal policies and these mindset of the people that's ultimately going to be running your country, if they ever get elected, that just sounds horrible. It sounds horrible to get a Walz Harris ticket. This is the type of person that y'all looking at, all right? So let me go ahead and play this for y'all. We're going to break it down. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock out.
Thank you, Philadelphia.
And I have not watched this. This is my first time.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, for the trust you put in me, but maybe more so, thank you for bringing back the joy. I'm thrilled to be on this journey with you and Doug, this incredible journey. And Pennsylvania, I know you know this, but my God, what a treasure you have in Josh Shapiro.
A lot of people believe that Josh Shapiro should have been the pick. It would have been the better pick. I myself think that Josh Shapiro would have been the better pick. But for whatever reason, they decided to go with this guy. And I don't know if it's just because he's incredibly liberal. We all knew that it was going to be a pick from the Midwest because they feel like they need to galvanize and they cannot lose Minnesota. They have to win the Midwest in order to win the election because that's where all of the votes is going to be. That's where all of the swing states is going to determine the election. So it was between probably him and Shapiro. But then at the same time, they picked this guy because I think that he's a little bit more left-leaning than Shapiro. But let's continue to hear his speech.
Holy hell, can this guy bring the fire? He can bring the fire. This is a visionary leader. Also, I have to tell you, everybody in America knows when you need a bridge fixed, call that guy. And I think sometimes we forget, and you see people a little one-dimensional, but seeing a guy who cares so deeply about his family, a man with compassion, vision, and I'll have to tell you this, I know this from experience, there is no one you would rather go to a Springsteen concert in Jersey with than him, than that guy.
So we got the cringe ticket, basically. The bad joke cringe ticket. Honestly, this is painful. This is one of the, I love doing the Millionaire Morning Show, but I'm telling you, honest to God, there are some times, and one of the reasons that I don't watch the videos ahead of time is not just so I can react to it in real time. It's also because it's painful watching this stuff. And so I only want to suffer through it one time. Is nobody that you'd better love to go to a Springsteen concert with, and then the people go, ha, ha, ha. Come on, listen, there is no faker laughs and faker applause. Look at the people in the background. Most of those people have never, ever experienced Bruce Springsteen or a Springsteen concert at all. Why are they applauding? If this is not a laugh track, I don't know what it is. Why is that black guy back there with the bow tie applauding? Why is that young girl applauding over there? Springsteen, there's nobody that you'd rather go to a Springsteen concert with. Cue the laugh track and throw up the... Stop, bro. Stop. Stop.
Brooks. And I can't wait for all of you and America to get to know my incredible wife, Gwen, a 29-year public school educator. Don't ever underestimate teachers. And our two beautiful kids, Hope and Gus. I couldn't be prouder to be on this ticket and to help Vice President Harris become what we all know is very, very good for us to think about. Next President of the United States of America. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, Attorney General of the great state of California, a United States Senator, and Vice President of the United States.
When we get to the thick of things,
fought on the side of the American people. Took down the transnational gangs. She stood up against powerful corporate interests, and she never has down the transnational gangs. She took on the predators. She took on the fraudsters. She took down the transnational gangs. She stood up against powerful corporate interests.
What is the transnational gangs? I'm a C student, so I'm a little bit slow.
And she never hesitated to reach across the aisle if it meant improving people's lives. All of you to hold this, and don't ever underestimate the power of this. She does it all with a sense of joy. I know a little something about that commitment to people. I was born in West Point, Nebraska. I lived in Butte, a small town of 400, where community was a way of life. Growing up, I spent the summers working on the family farm. My mom and dad taught us, show generosity towards your neighbors and work for a common good. My dad served in the Army during the Korean War. With his encouragement, at 17, I joined the Army National Guard. For years, I proudly wore the uniform of this nation. The National Guard gave me purpose. It gave me the strength of a shared commitment to something greater than ourselves. And just as it did for my dad and millions of others, the GI Bill gave me a shot at a college education. My dad was a teacher. My brothers and sisters and I followed in their footsteps. 3 out of 4 of us married teachers. What we do. For nearly 20 years, I had the privilege of teaching high school social studies and coaching football. They encouraged me to run for office. They saw in me what I was hoping to instill in them, a commitment of common good, a belief that one person can make a difference. So in 2006, I took a leap and I ran for Congress. And because high school teachers are super optimistic, I was running in a district that had 1 Democrat since 1892. Well, my neighbors graced me with an opportunity to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. Together, I worked across the aisle on veterans issues, on agriculture, and on ways to grow rural economies. I learned the art of compromise without compromising my values. Now, as governor of the great state of Minnesota, I bring those experiences to bear in tackling the challenges that are facing our great state. Minnesota's strength comes from our values, our commitment to working together, to seeing past our differences, to always being willing to lend a helping hand. Those are the same values I learned on the family farm and tried to instill in my students. I took it to Congress and to the state capitol, and now Vice President Harris and I are running to take those very values to the White House. First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, Trump weakens our economy to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. And that's to say nothing of his record as president. He froze in the face of the COVID crisis. He drove our economy into the ground.
What is with all of this misinformation that's happening up here? So y'all could just, wait. Listen. I understand when bloggers and the media and all of them, they spin a narrative in order to make money and all of this stuff. Thank you for the super chats. I'm going to be reading the super chat shortly. What is all of this misinformation that's being spewed by these potential politicians for president and vice president of the United States of America? When was our economy trash? When was he self-serving when it came to the decisions that he made when he was in office from 2016 through 2020? What are they talking about? See, and you know what's so funny? Where's all of the fact checkers that say that they out here checking to see if these people are accurate? Nobody, and I mean nobody, and when I say nobody, I mean nobody, was missing out on a bag for those 4 years. 0 people missed out on the bag for those 4 years. We were thriving. It was booming in the stock market. It was booming for jobs. It was booming in our neighborhoods, and it was booming when it came to having multiple different positions, and we was working from home, and we was getting to the money. Now, everybody is required to go in. You're making less money. You got to work at McDonald's. You got to have 3 and 4 jobs to even be able to survive whatsoever. Inflation is out of control. And you got migrants standing at Home Depot and suing Home Depot. I didn't even know that they had the ability to sue Home Depot, and you're not even a citizen of the United States of America. What is up with all of this misinformation, man?
And make no mistake, violent crime was up under Donald Trump.
Let's hear the rest of the speech.
That's not even counting the crimes he committed.
Called election interference.
You know, some of us are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office.
Look. They're not going to talk about immigration. They're not going to talk about policies that actually help Americans. They're not going to talk about money. They're not going to talk about the economy. They're not going to talk about inflation. They're not going to talk about us being in all of these proxy wars. We in 5, 6 proxy wars now? And now we firmly entrenched just recently with Iran in order to be able to support Israel and more things that we can't even protect our own borders. They're not going to talk about, you know what they're going to talk about? Doctor's office, abortion, gender affirmation. They trying to stop you from loving who you love.
In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
The government should not be involved in all of this, and we should not be funding this food.
Chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look, that includes IVF. And this gets personal for me and my family.
There we go.
When my wife and I decided to have children, we spent years going through infertility treatments. And I remember praying every night for a call for good news. The pit in my stomach when the phone rang, and the agony when we heard that the treatments hadn't worked. So it wasn't by chance that when we welcomed our daughter into the world, we named her Hope. When Vice President and I talk about freedom, we mean the freedom to make your own healthcare decisions. And for our children,
hey, stay on code, follow the script.
Be free to go to school without worrying they'll be shot dead in their classrooms.
And this is the trope, and this is the play, and this is who he is. When we say liberal policies and liberal mindsets, they are spinning a narrative to say, and our children should be able to go to school without worrying about getting shot in their classrooms. Stop, family. Gender affirmation has nothing to do, zero, zilch, nada to do with whether or not you are going to be harmed inside of your classroom. Stop it, bro. Stop it. Listen, man, y'all better wake up. Y'all better wake up. Open up your eyes. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. This is a finesse. This is a finesse. Wake the heck up. They trying to make sure that your children is not the same thing that they got going over in California. Recently passed a law in California to where your child can go to school and say that they are whatever it is that they want to be are. They could be a biological male. Say that they feel like they're female. Teachers and the staff is going to support it. And it's no requirement to let the parents know. We are in a space now. I remember when I was going up school, the teacher was an extension of the parents. And if you got in trouble at school, you was going to get it double at the crib. That's a fact, though. Shout out to Miss Brunner. Second grade was no joke. Went to school with a lot of welts on my back, but I was well behaved. I had some Jodeci boots. Yes. Forever, my lady. It's like a dream. I'm holding you close, keeping you warm. I had my Jodeci boots on. Yes, I did. And I had some welts on my back because I had got smart with Miss Brunner. Shout out to Miss Brunner. Your teachers was an extension of your parents. And if they had to send that peak slip home, or if you got that phone call, woo, had my Jodeci boots on and them welts on my back. And my dad was like, and don't make me take your boots back. Took my boots, gave me some Stadias and some XJ900s. Every time that I went to the hole, I was sliding. Had to do all jump shots in gym till I could get my Jodeci boots back. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, them high techs. You know what it is, them high techs.
By the way, as you heard, I was one of the best shots in Congress, but in Minnesota, we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe in common sense gun violence laws.
Same talking points year after year after year, bro.
Vice President Harris' idea of freedom is a ticket for education to be that ticket to the middle class, not crippling debt. Air that's clean, water that's pure, communities that are safe.
Notice how they not talking nothing about the things that's meaningful to Americans. Jobs, the economy, wars that we in that's going away from, the funding that's being taken away from our communities, and immigration into our country and protecting our borders. They never, ever, ever, ever under any circumstances address the real problems that's happening inside of your communities.
A place where we settle our political differences not through violence, but with our votes. And that's what this election's about. What direction will this country go in? He's not going back. Well, Donald Trump would damn sure take us backwards. Let's be clear about that.
I want to go back. Hey, hold on. I'm going to just be honest. I want to go back. I want to go back to the same policies, the same things that we had popping off And 2000, I wouldn't mind going back to 2016 through 2020 as far as the opportunity with the information that we know from a financial perspective and the bag chasers. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. We just enabled the community in the Discord. The link to the Discord is in the description of any of the most recent videos. With the information that we know right now, and the plays that we had in 2016 through 2020, I wouldn't mind going back. I don't know nobody that's trying to go forward with what it is that they've experienced over the last 2.5, 3 years. I know zero people that wants to go forward with what it is that they've dealt with over the last 3.5 years. It has been bad. Gnashing of the teeth, poorness, repossession, foreclosures, open borders, bad policies. All day long. All day long. I wouldn't mind going back to 2016.
And don't believe him when he plays dumb. He knows exactly what Project 2025 will do to restrict our freedom.
Hold on, they said that the likes is low. Is the likes too low? Your car, is the likes too low? Moderators, is the likes too low? Is it time to go to a Teach commercial? I will hit the Teach commercial in the middle of the show. Don't think for 1 second. See, I'm going to take y'all back to 2023, 2022, when I didn't mind hitting the Teach commercial. 40% off your first order plus a free gift. Come on, man, get the likes up. We cook over here.
To rig the economy to help the super rich. If Trump gets a chance to return, he's going to pick up exactly where he left off 4 years ago. Only this time, it will be much, much worse. Raising costs on middle-class family. He will repeal the Affordable Care Act, no doubt about it. He'll gut Social Security and Medicare.
Fear-mongering. Same thing that we see people do on the internet all the time. Why are you voting for Kamala Harris? Because I fear Trump. Didn't you thrive at that time?
And when somebody tells you they believe him. He said he'd ban abortion across this country, and he'll do it, whether or not Congress is there.
That's not what he said. It's a lie. Hey, fact check. That's not what he said. He did not say that he would ban abortion across the country. He said he would give it back to the states to make the determination within their own borders. That is supposed to be on the states. It's not supposed to be the federal government's job to meddle in people's business. That's not what he said. Hey, man, y'all better wake up and start understanding exactly what these policies are, exactly what the politicians are saying, and what they stand for.
Donald Trump's not fighting for you or your family. He never sat at that kitchen table like the one I grew up at, wondering how we were going to pay the bills. He's at his country club up in Mar-a-Lago, wondering how he can cut taxes for his rich friends.
Or maybe he did it so that American companies can bring offshore dollars back into the United States of America at a lower tax rate instead of funding other countries. And what's happening? See, if you don't have no understanding, you can't refute this. It's easy to just throw talking points out there to a bunch of people that are ignorant, and it's easily galvanized based off of diversity, equity, and inclusion and bad policies in politics that don't have any understanding of exactly what your record is. See, it's easy to just spew this stuff off when you understand the policies and you're paying attention and you're informed. When you're an informed voter, you are powerful.
And I got to tell you, his running mate shares his dangerous and backward agenda for this country. J.D. Vance, literally.
Somebody said Anton sounds nervous. How do I sound nervous? Listen, you do realize that I get richer no matter who's in office. My goal is to educate people and also help people to understand, because let's be very, very clear. I don't lose a dollar. I get richer no matter who gets in the office. It's just a fact. I'm in a space. It's nothing that they have going on that is going to affect me personally. But I have a vested interest as a person that decided not to move to Miami or to Texas. I stayed down in my city. And I want what's best for my city and my state. And I'm an American first. And I do not want a migrant crisis to continue to flood and absolutely decimate the cities. And we're not even affected by it. You gotta remember, I don't live in a space to where I'm affected by, or my city is even affected by, what's going on with the migrant crisis. Thankfully, we got competent leadership in our city that do not designate themselves and do not advocate for having migrants come into the city and take over. We booming over here. I would love for the United States of America to be awesome and for my daughter to grow up in an environment that is more conducive to the values that we instill in her as Americans and as Christians. I don't want, listen, I'm 42 years old. I don't have to worry about going into the library or going into a school and worry about what they teaching as far as the agenda. My daughter is about to be 17 years old. She's going into the 11th grade. She no longer has to be subjected to the same type of schools that you guys are subjected to. My daughter goes to a private school, a Christian private school that exhibits the values that we teach because I can afford to send her there. She's not subjected to the same things that your kids are subjected to. So when I'm fighting, it's similar to when I have a conversation with men and I'm advocating for men on behalf of what is happening in society and why they should no longer be subjected to some of the same things that they have as far as the women that's subjected to. I am married for 20 years. The best advocate that you can have for people is the one that actually is in a great space versus being under duress. I don't have problems with women because I've been successfully married for a long time. Is that going to stop me for advocating for updating family court laws that ultimately is destroying marriage? No, because the Christian in me is saying that I want the best thing for the people and I'm always going to advocate for the thing that's more aligned with my core values. It's similar to what's happening in the country. You pay more taxes than me as a middle class person. I see your little two kids right there. Why would I want your kids to be raised in an environment that's not conducive to conservative values that ultimately align with Christians? Do I have to suffer in it in order to advocate for it? Or is it best for people to advocate for the thing that's best for everybody? Because a rising tide lifts all boats. I want everybody to win. I don't want to just win by myself. I'm winning no matter what. I'm up. As a matter of fact, I'll be a better advocate for you. Let me explain it to you from this perspective. When the economy is messed up, I make more money, even as a content creator. When Biden and Kamala Harris is messed up, and anybody in this chat could tell you, over the last 2.5 years, I have been doing shows in and out, documenting, paying attention, looking at the migrant crisis, ultimately, looking at what's happening as far as inflation, breaking it down. When everything is messed up, I make more money and I get more views. I have a larger watch time. It's not in my best interest for Trump to win because then I don't have an opportunity to be able to rag on these suckers and how bad they running the economy into the ground. And it'll be less content for me. I got to work much harder. It's easy to pull up content that to show and illustrate exactly what's happening with the migrant crisis and Tiffany Henyard and Dalton and Brandon Johnson. Them stories is a dime a dozen. I'll put this show together in less than 30 minutes. I benefit off of when people are suffering, especially with this administration. So I'm effectively going against my own best interest to say that I want what's best for America. If anything, I should be nervous on the other side. But guess what? I'm up regardless. So I'm never going to advocate for the thing that's worse. But don't think for 1 second I'm not going to capitalize. It's almost like the foreclosure crisis. It's people getting foreclosed on every single day in the United States of America. Guess who's going to benefit the most out of it? Guess who just recently bought my latest property for a song? Because the person couldn't afford to keep it, and so we made an off-market deal that I couldn't refuse. When the economy go bad, I'm up. You should be nervous. You got small children that you're raising and that ultimately you're going to have to be worried about. My daughter is already straight for the rest of her life. My chick is good. You see what I'm saying? So think about what you say before you say it. You're voting against your own best interests. I seen you got mixed daughters over there.
Wrote the foreword for the architect of the Project 2025 agenda. Like all regular people I grew up with in the heartland, JD studied at Yale, had his career funded by Silicon Valley billionaires.
There we go.
And then
we
wrote a
all know that
bestseller,
JD
right?
Vance came from humble beginnings and all of this stuff. This is just it's foolishness. It's all foolishness. Let me read.